I find it really, really weird that he shuts down weapons manufacturing right away when his friend's not, because that will cause infighting in the company.
It does.
Yeah, it does. It does in the movie. Like, yeah, it does cause infighting, but usually that would instead of in the judge court like dissatisfaction thing, it would have immediately happened. Not him just telling Tony and a whole bunch of stuff. It usually just immediately happens, from what I know.
All right, I want to interrupt you here real quick because I feel like I should explain to you what I read in Tales of Suspense 39.
Okay.
So, the first third of, or basically everything you just went over, is basically Tales of Suspense 39. It opens on Iron Man. So, there's a few changes that they make for various reasons. I'll let people decide what those reasons are. Iron Man is in Vietnam. They are fighting... I forgot the name of the army, but they're essentially fighting the Communist Army in Vietnam. And Tony is there demonstrating his new, what are they called?
Missiles?
No, not missiles, actually. I keep wanting to call them nanomachines, because that's basically what they are. But it's they're like these super small fragments that are, like, extremely powerful. They don't really explain it well, but they don't need to. It's whatever time it was. He's showing off new tech, super small tech that they can use. It's important that they're small because they can't get large things through the jungles of Vietnam. He's there to make sure that everything goes well. It goes well to pretty good success, but then he falls for this, out in like cartoons, they have like the little tripwire thing.
Oh gosh.
He falls from one of those, and he gets captured by the communist Vietnam army. So, yes, he literally does get captured by terrorists, and he has, like, shrapnel in his heart as well. That is also true to the original comic, the first one. They essentially tell him, hey, or they lie to him and say, hey, you make us this weapon, we'll perform the surgery to get that shrapnel out of your heart. They're lying to him because they don't know how to do it. But he goes with it anyway because his plan is to make the Iron Man and get out of there. Like, shortly after he starts working, Jensen, you remember Jensen?
Yeah.
Okay. Jensen is also, he's like this old, like, Chinese dude, too.
Yeah.
He's brought in there to assist and help out and stuff. Jensen is actually someone that Iron Man looked up to and followed his work. I don't know if they mentioned that in the movie.
No, they did not.
So yeah, they make the Iron Man. It is, aside from the flight, I believe, 1-to-1 with the movie.
Oh.
Yes. So that like big clunk of metal thing is basically how it looked in the comic. That is the Invincible Iron Man, the very first one. It's limited in functionality. He actually has a sort of hard time walking in it at first. It's connected to his brain, not just his body. There's like a few panels of him relearning how to walk, but it's a comic and it's super fast paced. So they get past that immediately. He defeats a notable villain in particular, but that villain does not make an appearance in this movie because we're not in Vietnam. Makes the Iron Man suit, he defeats the terrorists, he gets out of there, and he vows to protect the world from the evil communism. So,
that sounds like propaganda.
It is propaganda. I recommend you read it, and I recommend other people read it too. You just have to keep in mind what time it came out in. You remember how, like, during the World Wars, it was, like, super okay to be racist toward, like, Japanese people and whoever was our enemy?
Oh.
It's not that bad, but you need to keep it in mind when you read this.
Okay.
So also, what's notable is that at the end of that comic, he does not vow to... In fact, actually, people in Vietnam don't have his technology at all. I think that's something of a parallel to real life. It reeks of Operation Cyclone, if you know what that is.
I don't know too much.
That was the CIA operation that essentially we funded a bunch of, like, Islamic extremists in Afghanistan.
Oh, I've heard about that.
To kind of rebuild our relationships with Pakistan.
I've heard about that.
But it's through those actions that eventually a bunch of people in Afghanistan eventually got our weapons. Not that that's exactly what's happening in Iron Man, but it reeks of that. And I have a feeling that they changed it to Afghanistan from Vietnam because, what I mentioned earlier, this being a post-Vietnam War Iron Man. The Vietnam War was very unpopular among Americans, especially among comic readers. And so they kind of had to pivot from being like a super like pro-patriot capitalism, build the weapons for war Iron Man to something that's, maybe I should reconsider my actions just a little bit. Alright, I didn't want to, sorry for like going too far off the rail, or not off the rails, off of what your notes
that's fine
entail, but please proceed.